Hey everybody, so this is my Smith Network helmet that I got a few years ago for about $80. It's my all-around helmet for road and gravel, and basically anything but MTB. And these are my $25 Amazon special cycling glasses by the company Capvo. Now, at around $100 total, this has been a solid go-to setup, and honestly, I haven't had any major issues with it over the past few years. But then recently, Smith sent over this top-shelf helmet and glasses combo for review, and I started wondering what benefits a more premium setup like this might afford over my basic go-to setup. In this video, a comparison of a basic helmet and glasses combo versus a top-tier combo, and what benefits, if any, I've noticed through my testing. Is a $500 setup that much better than a $100 setup? I don't know. Okay, so for starters, both of these helmets feature this Koroyd honeycomb structure, which is a lightweight, highly ventilated, energy-absorbing impact material. The Network helmet has zonal coverage, meaning this material is only used in key areas, whereas the Trace helmet features complete Koroyd coverage all the way around the shell. Both helmets also feature the MIPS protection system, which many helmets now adopt. Now, MIPS stands for Multi-Directional Impact Protection System, and the idea here is to put a thin slip liner inside of the helmet so that in the case of an oblique impact, the helmet will actually rotate about your head rather than transferring that energy to your head and neck. Now, whether or not MIPS is as effective as claimed, it's clear that the vast majority of helmets are offering a MIPS-equipped helmet. But one thing to note is that the MIPS liner in the Network helmet seems a little bit stiffer, as in it takes a little bit more force to slide it around in the shell. On the other hand, on the Trace helmet, the liner slides around with very little resistance. So it's possible that there is some variation in MIPS liners across helmet models, but it could also very well be just because the Network is a few years old, and there's just physically more friction due to, head gunk buildup over time. But either way, it's pretty obvious that the Trace liner moves with less resistance. Now, fit-wise, the helmets are practically identical. Now, I have a relatively large head. My hat size is a 7.5, I believe. And the medium-sized helmet is just at the limit before I would need to upsize to the large. Now, the Smith helmets in general tend to be slightly narrower than, say, a Giro helmet. So I do feel a touch more pressure on the sides with respect to front and back pressure. But it's nothing really bothersome. Overall, the fit on the Smith helmets is really good. Both helmets tend to ventilate pretty well, but if I'm being honest, my hair is super dense, and so I can never really tell a difference in the amount of airflow going through a helmet. Plus, I don't really ride that fast, so in this case, I'm going to call ventilation a wash between the two models. Now, as far as weight, the Network comes in at 316.5 grams, while the Trace helmet in the same size comes in at 269.2 grams, or 47.3 grams less. So not a huge difference between models. Now, the pricing structure seems to be changing a bit for these helmets, but when I bought the Network helmet in, I believe it was early 2020, it retailed for $80 or maybe $85, somewhere in there. But right now, the pricing is kind of wacky, actually. Now, depending on the colorway, the price for the Network ranges from $85 up to $112. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Now, the Trace helmet, on the other hand, retails for $250 US. But interestingly, some of the colorways and sizes are actually on closeout now for as low as $125. So for me, if it's between a $112 Network and a $125 Trace, then it's well worth it to me to pay a touch more for the full Koroyd protection and slightly lower weight. Now, on the other hand, if it's between an $85 Network helmet and a $250 Trace, then I can't say that there's enough of a difference between models to justify the Trace. Okay, so yeah, the pricing is really strange right now, but it could be that they're just consolidating some models or perhaps about to introduce some new ones. Now, in any case, it's actually a really good time to get a new helmet if you're due for one. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff on closeout for as much as 50% off right now, which is in early October 2023. And yes, it's kind of shameless, but using the affiliate link below will send a small kickback my way, and it costs you nothing. Okay, so anyways, that's the helmets. Two different tiers, but as far as features and weights, they're reasonably close, I'd say. Now, for glasses, I'm comparing two vastly different products. Now, it's always been my preference to go with cheap glasses, since I'm notorious for losing expensive ones. So for the past decade or so, I've always gone with just a cheap brand, and these have been my go-to glasses lately. It's an Amazon brand called Capvo, but the style is pretty generic, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of companies are selling the same style glasses under different names. Now, these glasses here retail for about $25, and there's a polarized lens version as well as a photochromatic lens version as well. But nonetheless, all the models range from $25 up to maybe $40 at most. Now these, on the other hand, are the Smith split shift mag cycling glasses, and these retail for around $270 US. No sales, no closeouts, that's just what you're going to pay for them right now. And they are significantly more expensive than the cheapo Amazon ones. So as far as I can tell, the benefits had better be pretty drastic to be able to justify the difference in price. Now, both of these glasses protect you from harmful UV rays and keep the wind out of your eyes. The premium shift glasses weigh in at 28.5 grams, which is a whopping 3.9 grams lighter than the cheapies. So on paper, it does seem hard to justify the $230 price difference, but I do think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I think the sort of optical range is a big factor here, and by that I mean with the Smith glasses, I basically see no frame material, and my entire field of view is pretty unobstructed. Well, on the other hand, I can clearly see the frame on these Capvo glasses, and while I do tend to get used to it over the course of a ride, in a side-by-side, there's almost no question that I would prefer the Smith. Now, a big thing for me is seeing the upper part of the frame, right? So as you ride a bike, you're generally kind of looking up the whole time. And so if the glasses sit too low on your face, you'll definitely see the frame, which can be bothersome. Now, the Smith glasses sit up pretty high on your nose, and I don't really see any of the frame, which is really nice. Now, of course, fit is subjective, but the Smith glasses just fit me perfectly. There's enough tension in the arms to prevent sliding, but there's not enough to feel tight or pinchy. Now, the nose pad is also adjustable on these as well, but I've left them in the stock setting. And truthfully, they really just kind of disappear when I put them on, and I often forget that I'm wearing them, which really is the biggest compliment. The Capvo glasses, on the other hand, use a bend in the arms to prevent the glasses from sliding by hooking around the ear, much like a reading glass. And so unless you're the perfect depth for your particular ears, there's going to be a little bit of sliding. On my head, for example, there's a little bit of play front to back, and I do find myself constantly pushing them back onto my face. Now, I could probably hunt around for a cheap pair that fits a little bit better than these, but even these, which are a different model from the same company, use the wraparound style, very similar to the Smith, but the arms just aren't as flexible, and somehow they tend to squeeze my head a little bit harder, but at the same time, they don't stay in place as well as a Smith. So it's only one comparison, but the Smith glasses do really feel premium. I'm inclined to say that they're actually worth the price. Having full range of vision in a lightweight frame that stays in place, it's pretty good. And I haven't even mentioned the actual lens yet. On the Smith glasses, the contrast and clarity is noticeably improved over the cheap glasses. And while I am certain you can find a pretty premium lens for less than $270, it's just undeniable that the Smith lens is a very high quality lens. And so, a lot of discussion here. To summarize, for helmets, I'd say that as long as the core safety technologies are incorporated, just get a helmet that fits well and is within your budget. Now for eyewear, I was actually pretty surprised with what I found. I had originally assumed that the $270 glasses were going to feel unnecessarily overpriced and that I would never consider investing in a premium pair of glasses like this. But after riding with them for a few weeks now, I've started to come around. It's surprising how well the Smith glasses fit and how well they stay on my face. I really tend to forget that I'm wearing them, which is more than I can say for any other budget sunglasses that I've ever tried. Well, what are your thoughts on budget versus baller cycling helmets and glasses? Do you tend to cheap out or do you go all in? I'd actually be pretty curious to hear what you have to say down in the comments. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.